Okay, we're good.
Good?
We're good.
Okay. I call the meeting to order 9:01. Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. We are all present except for Mike Ratliff, who is excused. Public comment? Anybody? Thanks for our public being here. Approval of minutes from March 17th, 2021. Anybody want to make a motion to approve?
Basil, second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I don't know if they're accurate since I wasn't here. Thank you, Sam, for being chair of the meeting. Okay. Mooring Field and staff report.
Austin Gilchrist, Fort Myers Beach Harbor Master for the record. Let's see, we got all of those navigational signs, the day signs back up. A lot of compliments from the people in the mooring field. We were getting a lot of complaints about the people in the channel coming a little close to the mooring field. We are under, research to finding new buoys for special purpose buoys around the mooring field. I'm going to go ahead and try to switch up the design from the cylinder buoys to cylinders with the collars on the bottom to help stop from the prop hits and things like that. They're basically fatter on top, and they still come out of the water at the same height. It's just they don't go under the surface as deep. So it'll just help prevent the hits, the sinking, and then the growth on the special purpose buoys as well. We're also doing inspections on all of our seagrass buoys on the other passes or on the south end of the island. We do take care of those buoys down there. We are missing some, so we'll be doing operations on the south end to be replacing the no boat buoys down there with the seagrass area. We updated the dinghy dock sign. There was some misinformation on it with the pump out scheduling, so we got that updated from 10 to 2 o'clock from Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is when we are doing our pump outs, scheduled pump outs. We are doing, the pump outs have kind of fallen back a little bit, but we still are doing outside of the field is still being pretty busy. We are staying within the jurisdictions, but we're hitting more marinas now. And then the Anchorage area is still on a consistent pump outs with the people in the Anchorage area who have always pumped out. They're still pumping out. Other than that, the boat's been in for service. We've pumped out the boat, I think, about 4 times this month, so it's filling up quick. We have started our dive operations of doing all the inspections and cleaning of the systems. I think we're up to like ball 25 as of right now. We got hit with some weather, so it kind of postponed everything. But everything's looking good. We're up to date with all of the new systems that have been put in. We're still working with Kincaid to keep an ongoing inspections and ongoing cleaning cycle of the systems. We do have a live aboard inspection coming up. Anybody who is on the extended lease for the more than 6 months lease will be going boat to boat and making sure those boats do meet the criteria. We will emphasize all the rules that will coincide with being on the extended lease, whether it be the location of your vessel, your practices of whether it be hull scraping, pumping out, tie-ups, and things of that nature as well. We will be reviewing. We do emphasize, all of the rules we are enforcing. As far as like the hull scrapings and things like that. But other than that, the dinghy dock operations, we've had a few hiccups at the dinghy docks with people tying up. We've had a few complaints. We've had a couple boats abandoned there that we found the owners for and returned. But as far as right now, we've had no major issues as far as overcrowding of the dinghy dock and things that we've had in the past. The water facilities, I think we've had a complaint on about being more user-friendly. We're looking into that and seeing what exactly we can do to make it more usable at the seawall for people to get fresh water and take it out to their dinghy docks. we recovered a couple down markers, but they were in the county channel, so the county went ahead and replaced those. I think that about covers it on the mooring and staff report. Anything?
Would notice some hole scraping happening in the field, and that is prohibited. And we will be reinforcing that and telling all of the patrons that that is an issue, the hole scraping in the field.
Anything else?
I had a question. Is there a particular reason for that? Or
It's in our agreement with the state,
it's in the lease?
and it's in every
Okay.
single contractual agreement that is signed. No hole scraping.
The state does that for environmental impact purposes. The contaminants that bottom paints have in them, when you go ahead and do scrape, you flake off that contaminant in the water. Why we do not allow it. That is state water still. We're just leasing it, so we're just abiding by the state rule.
Mention of the mooring field update?
So we are very, very, very close to getting the DEP approval. Already received the Army Corps approval. The gentleman who we were working with for the permit side, he had to pass up his recommendation to his supervisor, and that's where it sits right now. And so essentially we're waiting for them to write the submerged land lease, approve the updated harbor management plan that you all reviewed, and town council reapproved. And so we're hoping any day now. We did submit the grant application to FBIP, Florida Boating Improvement Program, for the expansion. So that was due April 6th, so we did get that submitted, and that's under review right now. The big grant Austin talked about with the replacement of the 55 systems, right now we're just seeking, putting together the package to seek for reimbursement for that grant so we can get those monies back in our town coffers. And those are, I think, and then we have a grant for any time that staff do pump outs, actually perform pump outs. We do get a percentage reimbursed of their staff time. So we track that, and our finance staff put together that package for reimbursement. So there's many grants going on with regards to the mooring field.
Dinghy dock at Bayside?
That is pending. We have to get the expansion permit from DEP before we can apply for that one. Otherwise, we have to start from ground zero again. That will be the next application. As soon as the DEP, the expansion closes out, we'll submit the Bayside application. Now, I would just remind you that as we apply for grants, specifically grants for like the dinghy docks, that typically if it is grant funded, it has to be open to the public. You would not be able to charge user fee or a usage fee. Whereas if the town paid for, say, the dock at Bayside out of its own coffers, we could charge a fee to dock there. So, but if we get the grant funding, it has to be open to the public free of charge. Something to weigh when we look at these different grants.
We charge, but we cannot limit people. We charge, it's still got to be open to everybody.
If we pay for it, can we restrict it to those in the field, or is that not possible?
Well, kind of like the field first come first serve. You know, we would only be able to fit so many in there. You know, if it's just we would own it, we could restrict it in any way we see fit, unless there's anything dictated by the submerged land lease that we'd have to get.
And service provider update?
So there's been a lot of discussion lately. I believe Sam and Kathy both attended a previous town council meeting and voiced during, Sam during advisory committee items, and then Kathy as a public comment voiced the concerns of this committee, what you had at your last meeting about Bayside Park and actually taking the services in-house in suitable locations, et cetera. Council opted with the recommendation to take it to their the next meeting and have a lengthy discussion. And I think that discussion went on for probably 30 to 40 minutes, talking about the different options for an upland service. Bayside Park is completely out of the picture. That is out to bid right now. We have been looking, I sent you all an email to ask your assistance to help find locations, albeit on the market or not on the market. We've identified a handful of locations, many of which you all are aware of from past discussions of locations, Bay Oaks, some other, town-owned, maybe their rights of way or options. I know Kathy sent me 2 ideas. Sam, back and forth, we were on the phone last week looking at a couple different options. So I think at their last council meeting, on council member items, Councilmember Veach raised the concern of allowing the town manager to use town funds that are not allocated to help kind of look into the feasibility of certain locations. Roxanne, maybe you can help. I don't know if there was any.
My understanding was there wasn't any objection from anybody that he could spend. So I brought up that the town manager does have the authority to spend up to $25,000 without a specific authorization from the council.
So ultimately, there's no funding in the budget for this, but in that council member items, Monday, the town manager has the authority up to $25,000. If we do exercise that, we would bring back whatever contract at a subsequent town council meeting for their allocation of funds. But that did give us the opportunity to do some homework into some of these sites that have been identified. I know one of the council members had mentioned having a meeting with George Freeland with Moss Marine. We've since had a couple meetings with him. We will report back those findings to town council. Again, similar to Matanzas, they're kind of in the midst of redevelopment and trying to figure out moving forward. But as you all know, our contract with Matanzas expires, I believe it's December 1st of this year. So we're on a timeline. There has been some mention of procuring a couple trailers, putting them under the bridge in what we term as Lot 4, which is the parking lot directly abutting fishing pier and the existing dinghy dock. That would be temporary trailers for restrooms and shower and laundry. That has been mentioned as an option in the interim, so until a location can be looked at in depth, or we bid it out in summer and see what we get then too. A lot of moving parts here, but we've compiled a list of properties that are out there, ranging from town already owns it to $2.6 million. So properties are out there, very few, but the ones that are out there, again, Bob can jump in, but they're pricey, especially if they're waterfront. So
Can we come in and see the list from you?
yes, I'd be more than happy to meet with you after one-on-one over the list. If you want to sit down, we can brainstorm some ideas. But the intent is to take this back to town council at their May MNP, which unfortunately I will not be there. I'm taking a vacation, but the town manager is well aware and briefed of everything that has been going on.
When is that meeting?
I believe it's the first Thursday in May, which is like May 5th.
That's MMP?
Yes. Is
Thursday. Okay, that's fine.
May 6th.
Okay. Well, when this was brought up, because I was at the MNP when it's been brought up, talking to Moss, my understanding that would just be to talk about if they wanted to bid for it, because we can't just go to them and say, I mean, it's just like anybody else, that they would have to bid for it. So it was just a conversation to see if they were interested, which they haven't been so far.
Correct.
So I was just a little bit kind of, and it doesn't, if we're talking about, which we have been for 2.5 years, if we're talking about the reasons why we have talked about taking it in-house, that doesn't solve anything.
That was confusing.
I mean, that's confusing
That
to
was
me
confusing
because,
it seemed that during the meeting, we were talking about taking it in-house. It seemed like it was more like we were gonna rent space at Moss Marine. And that was gonna be my question to you, whether the subject was we're renting space to take it in-house, or we're just, trying to get them to make a bid this summer. I wasn't sure
From
which
our
one it was.
discussions thus far, I don't know that Moss Marine is. They're not showing interest.
well, they haven't so far. I wouldn't,
Last time we had more than one bid was, I think, 3 or 4 years ago when Sundeck, the previous owners of Sundeck, had bid on that, but they were not a waterfront property, so that, but that was the last time that we had more than one response to the RFP or Q, whatever.
Seems strange that they would approach Moss Marine and they wouldn't approach John Richard or any other, or 20 other different waterfront properties, including the Old Mermaid, or, all those people. It seems strange that they would single out Moss Marine. I was under the impression that they singled them out because they were gonna try to rent the property, take it in-house, but.
I'm going to correct your pronoun here when you keep saying they. It was one particular council member who asked the town manager specifically. So it wasn't a they, it was a he.
And the point is we at the town council member, part of the town council requested that the town manager meet with them. We've had meetings. That's my point. So, of course, once it goes out to bid, everyone has the opportunity to bid on it, albeit Fort Myers Beach, San Carlos Island. Everybody has that opportunity if it goes out to bid, unless town council chooses to get in-house, procure trailers, put up a lot, or come on a lot, things
well,
like
I would hate to see if somebody's interested in bidding on it to go to trailers as an interim. I don't think trailers really helps us. And so that's my personal opinion. But, unless, the only reason I would think we would go to trailers is if we had procured a site and it was going to be an interim as to getting there. But if we don't have a plan, I don't see stepping away if we have an interested other party and going to a trailer with the hopes that we will find something, is my opinion.
Bob Beasley, for the record. Yeah, I thought the whole point of all this was basically to see if the town could take it in-house and if it would make sense to do it. And, if they're really not going to take it in-house, I don't see a lot of difference no matter where it moves to. You might as well keep it where it's at and try to work it out.
The intent of the trailers would be to take it in-house.
Well, I understand that, but what I'm saying is I would not like to just do the trailers thinking we're going to find something. I want to find something, and if we have to go to trailers in the interim, that's fine, but I think it's a really, an unknown to just go to a trailer and we never find anything because we haven't upgraded our service. That's my
My
point.
impression is that the trailers have been mentioned, A, as an interim, and B, just to let people know there is a backup plan if everything else goes bad. it's not a forefront option.
Well, and the point of this advisory committee is to make recommendations to the town council, so you can be a part of that plan, that long-term plan. Make that recommendation.
And for the record, on that note of making recommendation, I thought that Kathy and I made a pretty good case at the meeting for them to consider Bayside. With the exception of Rexanne, were very unreceptive to anything, and I found their objections like ruining the view. I found a lot of their objections were, I don't know where they came from, but you know, one of the main ones was ruining the view, which if they looked at the plans of the original, had a better view. Upper deck, lower deck, all the way down San Carlos Island. So I thought it was a little unreasonable. Rexanne was the only one really that was trying to get a discussion going towards a positive. So it's really unfortunate that they really shot it down pretty quickly, even though it was a long discussion. There was really no attempt.
Logically, you know, if you look at it and what the town is trying to do, logically, take all the motion out, that's the place it should have been. But it is what it is, so now we got to figure something else out.
Anything further right now? I plan to at least see what the list is. I actually, I had a lot of back and forth with Bill Veach. He's thinking outside the box. He and I have emailed back and forth about some possibilities and different kind of things. But I'd be interested to see whatever, you know, the whole of the list and all of that, and see where we are.
And again, if anybody here, you know, sees or knows of any place else, let us know. You know, we'd be more than happy to add it to the list and try to vet it as, you know, as well as we can, being town staff. But of course, the feasibility of, you know, if a site dredging, or if it needs mangrove trimming, or if it needs repairs, of course we'd have to look to our experts for that. But as far as just identifying and figuring out, you know, price and things like that, or the last transaction, the owner, things like that, we can do that in-house. But like I said, we have a list. Plan on, you know, talking with the town manager and looking at different options, but we will be updating the town council, the MNP, with regards to the Moss Marine discussion, and then upland services again, like in general.
Well, and obviously our number one issue is the water access, and even the properties that I identified to you, there has to be some research as to whether we really have enough access. And as you say, if it needs to be dredged or trimmed or a dock built or whatever, that's really kind of our number one issue, because there's a lot of properties around the island, well, not a lot, but properties around the island that might be suitable. But if you can't get to it with a dinghy, then we're nowhere with them, so.
This time, what's the current schedule for bidding renewal or bidding for the expired?
I think that'll honestly be determined what at the May M&P, if town council chooses to procure trailers, or if they choose to bid it out, or both. It would have to be sometime this summer. I would think, I like to do all my projects in the summer, June, July. Council takes July off, so it gives us a break to, a chance to breathe and get some work out. So I would hope to put it out sometime in like July,
That's when
August.
you've typically done it in the past.
Yes.
Thanks.
I kind of made my thought known about getting out and or trailers. I don't know what anybody else thinks, because if we're going to make a recommendation about what we think the town council should do, maybe we should make a motion about it. I don't know what everybody else thinks in here.
Us, Greg Holmes, and I'm pretty much against the trailers at this point, unless you have a viable property that we know we're going to move to. But even then, why don't we just extend our services with Matanza instead of going through and then you gotta go to trailers, and you gotta go to another place. That's a huge expense to the taxpayers of this town, and, you know, I just think it's just gonna be a lot of work. And the
Trailers
smooth
are-
transition, we go from Matanza right to our new property, if we find one. Otherwise, we continue with sourcing it out.
Regardless, we have to bid it out. We can't just extend our contract with Matanzas, and that's hoping that they do, you know, respond to that bid. They've been a great partner, you know, since, but, they have to respond to the bid, and we can't force their hand on that, so, that and any other person. So that's hoping that they do bid on it, but like Rexanne mentioned earlier, staff does have a fallback, you know, at any given point, Matanzas can say, give us notice and say, we're done, like, we're no longer providing your services. Our backup is the trailers. The location would be under the bridge, directly abutting the dinghy dock. So, I don't know if you all have had the opportunity, Austin, what's the marina? Has, some trailers, right?
Oh, yeah, behind Snook right there, they do have, portable restroom trailers. That kind of idea of, well, the caliber of what we're looking at, a little better than.
So if, you get a chance to go down there, take a peek at those, but,
Actually kind of on the side.
Yeah, well, they do just take up one parking stall, but there's, I think, 2 units within each trailer.
but just letting you know, that's our backup plan. You know, if we don't have any bids, our hands are tied, and we've agreed with the state that we're providing this service for, you know, 10 years. Whenever we executed that, I think that was a couple years ago. So, we have to provide these services, otherwise the mooring field, you know, not meeting our contractual obligations.
Is that backup plan, we know there's water there, is there sewer drain there there's a hookup there?
We could connect, we would have to connect, but yeah,
Right,
same
if
thing
it's
with water.
available.
Yeah, it's doable. Absolutely.
Well, my view is the same as Greg's. I don't see, I would urge the council to go out for bid. Not transition to trailers before we go out to bid. And yes, I understand it's a backup plan, but I don't see transitioning unless that's the only option we have. I would urge the council to go out for bid at this point.
Doug Ekman, generally agree, but you need a backup plan because there's the possibility that you may not get any bids.
Yes,
We've
I agree
actually
with
had
that.
that happen on some projects that we've had.
Recently.
One of the projects at Newton, we had, I think, rebid 3 times because we actually got no one to bid. So it has happened, so we have to be ready for that
I
possibility.
understand that. I just don't want the council, my personal opinion, which I think is Greg's too, is that would like it to go out to bid if people want to do it, and this would be the fallback that
I
if you
haven't
didn't
heard
get a
any
bid.
council member voice an objection to going out to bid.
I don't know if we need to make a
That,
motion
I'm not
for
saying
that.
it couldn't happen, but that's not what I'm here, I've ever heard in any meeting. I've
Well,
never heard anyone say,
And regardless, you know, let's say hypothetically, council says, let's buy the trailers, but let's also go out to bid. Or we can always, the point of the trailers is it takes 14 to 16 weeks to get them. So, you can always go out to bid and see what's out there. Have, try to get some bids in. No bids in, then we rebid it. Putting it out to bid and having responses back, that helps gauge the dialogue.
Yeah, Doug Ekman, the contract's up November.
We have to bid in July, I think it is.
You have to have it in motion that you can get the trailer in a timely fashion if.
And that's the point of the conversation soon.
And for the record, I think, town manager, I think Roger was pretty explicit that is the fallback, that is the last resort, because they were expressing, town council was expressing concern that we get left with nothing, and Roger expressed that as the plan B if there was nothing else.
Anything else on this topic? Strategic plan, communication plan. I see Chelsea sent us out some things from,
Yep, so, I asked Jenny, the town's PIO, to, where she does the social media posts, just to see what the responses are with those. So this is kind of the, statistics of, comments, of likes, of things like that, and all of the social media posts that have been put out that are pertaining to the mooring field. I know we used to pay for advertising in the past, but just to show, what everything that our PIO is pushing out. And I know Randy's helped with some of these items, so it's a joint effort on between Public Works and our PIO. But I think the last page you'll see, or the third to last page you'll see is this. It has this one that says hits on website page since January 1, 2021, 2,143 visits, so, to the mooring fields page. And as you know, the town is working on redoing the website. You see on the next page, it says that it has its own button on the home page moving forward. So, and then of course, as everyone knows, is we've digitized our dinghy permits. So,
The button is located right at Bayside Park, isn't it?
is it? I didn't even notice
And the
that.
picture is.
Oh, the irony. Right dead center. I just wanted to show you that we are making some headway on getting some publicity to the of the mooring field out. I know Austin has said on various occasions that a lot of the mooring field, as most of you know, you're avid boaters, a lot of it's word of mouth, and getting on DACWA, and then having that publicity, but also the word of mouth. It's getting out there. So.
do we still advertise on the cruisers net? Are we still doing, did we do that this year? Because I know Southwinds is no longer.
I think we did Cruisers Net. I'll have to confirm, because that would have been early on in the year, and we normally I think we normally do it through season. So I'll have to follow up and get back to you. Also provided in here is, we have a comment box down at Matanzas, and we've provided you the comment cards that we received. And those were also provided to the Matanzas staff to correct any issues that were addressed in there. And I know that they were working on correcting some of those issues.
I found it interesting with the comment card that, there were 5 cards, I think. 2 really didn't like DACWA. And that's, I will say the one comment about it, that with our first come, first serve, that is an issue with DACWA. With they don't really have a reservation. So,
that's one thing we've been working with Trip on, because there's some confusion, and I think we have to look at, so when somebody gets waitlisted, we're under the impression that there's no availability in the field. Whereas on our end of it, when you're waitlisted, we're waiting, number one, we're waiting for you to get closer to the field, and we'll let you know your availability, because we cannot confirm your reservation until you're physically here. So I've heard of circumstances where somebody has been waitlisted and they're off the Anchorage, and there's been a miscommunication between the boater and the upland provider, where the boater didn't know that hey, I'm here, I got a call, can I get a ball now? So I think there's some growing pains. We can look at revamping some of the verbiage on DACWA.
on the actual site for our
Yes.
mooring field.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
if you get waitlisted, have a brief, gist of, waitlisted because not necessarily because we don't have availability, but because we are first come, first serve. So, again, this was only implemented in October, so we're, I think, halfway through the year and still learning the ins and outs.
Anything else with strategic plan, communication plan?
I just want to point out, this committee spent a lot of time and effort putting together a strategic action plan. It was adopted by this committee, that was adopted by town council, of your vision of the future of the field. And so that strategic action plan is like a guide. We set our end goals and how do we accomplish those. Those have already been adopted from this committee and town council. So you all are the ones who set those goals. Staff's point to help assist in meeting those goals. So I don't know if we need to go back and review, address. It's a living, breathing document. Short-term goals and long-term goals can change all the time. They do, it's life. So I just wanted to point that out, that this plan has already been approved and everybody has agreed with certain goals.
I think we're still on track with it. The only problem is that, you know, having a location and in-house versus provider is the number one determiner right now of how it moves forward.
Yeah, I've kind of looked back through this on occasion. I didn't do it for this meeting. I've made a bunch of notes over time. You know, obviously some of them, dates need to be kind of pushed back again because we aren't there yet. Some have been done, but as Sam kind of said, I feel like with some of these, we're kind of on hold until the provider either stays the same or changes. With some of the facility things and with some of the, you know, we did kind of, you know, do some out there kind of things like a ship store and doing, you know, all of that. We are still working with the growth and moving forward with facilities and stuff, but I think it might be going forward a good idea for everybody to just kind of look through this before we come into every meeting, maybe. As I say, I didn't today, but see if we've really changed. But as a lot of the dates have to be pushed back, at least on some of it.
I have one more question for Chelsea. Did council ever ask for a staff recommendation on Bayside Park regarding us?
I don't know that it was ever formally asked.
Seems like they usually ask for a staff recommendation.
Saying you're at the meetings, I back in.
I don't remember that it was ever worded in that way, no. I think it was pretty clear what the staff's position was, though.
Well, it's out for bid now, so.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, that's a final thing, but I was just curious why they never really asked for, seems like they asked for a staff recommendation with detail on every other item. And I don't remember ever seeing that.
Anything else? Member items and reports. I'm going to just start a little bit. I know Ted passed out some stuff, which I think you're going to probably talk about in a minute, but that kind of piggybacks on a little bit, because I had a question for Chelsea after the last meeting, because you sent out just recently some occupancy report, and right after last meeting, you sent out something that had people's names or boats' names or whatever. And there was an issue with that report. Specifically, I will reference myself, that our boat appeared in October and then never again.
So that's something we're working with Aqua. So the occupancy report, they have to fine tune it because when we run it right now, it just considers the transients. It doesn't consider our 10 long-term contracts. So,
but I'm not one of those.
You not on the long-term contracts?
Well, I am on a long-term contract, but I'm not a liveaboard.
Okay, well, that's something
There
we're-
must be more
So
than 10.
but in our system, in the system, we have the transients, which I can show you on the back end after the fact, but we have the transient side, and then we have the contract side. And so if you've executed the contract, that is not being counted in the occupancy. So it's a back end issue that they have to fix, that we're working on.
Well, I was piggybacking on this report you just sent out. Is it accurate then? Daily occupancy, if that report is not accurate, is this one accurate?
I ran it, and I have a email out to Tripp confirming that this included both contracts and transients. So I'm
That-
waiting on that answer,
That was my question.
and unfortunately, they're an hour behind, so.
That was just my question, because the other one did not include,
If anything, it would be off by the 10 or so, 11 contracts that we have.
That would be significant.
well, it probably would not be, I kind of went through and just did a little analysis, just saying, because we had like 10 days where we had occupancy in the 60s in February. So we could not have 10 more because we only have 70 balls. So it's probably fairly accurate. But I just thought it was kind of interesting that we only had 1 week that was in the 60s. Everything was below that for the year. That was just a observation.
Well, and then what I really like about this report is it shows the different linear footage of vessels. So, and of course, this is based on what we can accommodate in the field with the swing radiuses, but it categorizes those into those groups, so we can see the size vessels we have more so than others. And of course, that could change with the different swing radiuses. If we expand and get the larger radiuses, we can attract larger vessels, so.
Did you have something?
Unfortunately, I did not make as many handouts as this, but in the form of putting all of the dailies on a graph, you got one or not.
Maybe Greg did not, I don't know.
I'm good.
It's interesting that we have peaked in February there. It is also interesting that somehow at the end of each month, we have a big dip in occupancy. I don't know if that's because that's a changeover from people moving out or whether that's different contracts, but at the end of each month, we have a dip of, 10 or so. And this graph shows the different lengths of vessels for the period that we had provided, and I thank you for those data. If you compare this in previous years, there's another one that was handed out. We're not wildly down from previous years, but we are down some, particularly December was down a significant amount. And we believe that this set of figures that we got, the separate ones, included the 10 contracts because it would be way above previous, and we have.
I'm waiting for confirmation, and I'll let you know as soon as I hear.
Okay. Anyhow, it was wonderful to now see how we're tracking from previous years, and it seems to reflect the reports that y'all have been giving. We're still missing 2 months data for
Oh, yeah, I see,
for August and September
of last
of
year.
last year.
This one you did, I'm assuming, Ted,
Yes,
pulling in from what we had before.
correct.
Do you have an electronic file for that?
Yes, I think I sent this to Chelsea.
I will distribute his file to the staff, to.
It's nice to just have it all here.
I sent you more than you need. This is probably, all you need to send out.
Are the green boats the smaller boats? I mean, it just says Series 1 on this graph.
Green is total. I mean, the top line is total.
Total, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I didn't get those on. Top one is total. I have a copy of this that has what they are, but you refresh us there's the 1, 2, 3 different levels.
I'm assuming 4 is the longest vote, because it's
Yes.
the same across the bottom.
That's correct. And I have a file, I printed the wrong one, I have a file that tells what those lengths are.
Well, I think we have more of the smaller radiuses probably in any case, so,
Well, the main thing is the green is the total,
okay.
What is the orange?
like 40 feet.
We have 2 balls that are for the biggest,
That'd
right?
be yellow.
And is the yellow?
The yellow.
Do you remember the categories of?
They're 30, 40, 48, 58.
Okay, that's the categories.
Those are, it's on this left-hand side of the one I sent you.
Okay.
I'll reprint the one.
Okay. Anything else, Ted?
That's all I had. Thanks for the data.
Bob, do you have anything?
Nope.
Great.
Oh. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here today, because I didn't realize Nick will be gone in May for the summer now.
Okay.
Weddings, and hope they're not come back. Too much work, so.
Hopefully you'll be back in the fall.
Yeah.
Anybody? Thanks for being here.
I have one final item.
Yes.
I failed to mention that we do still have one delinquent vessel out in the field that is still with our town attorney to pursue. So, we're working on that one.
Resolved all the other ones?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a good thing. That's the long-term delinquent we've had.
Yeah, it's long, yeah, I'd say,
Is anybody living aboard or?
no.
Okay.
Austin's keeping an eye on it, making sure, damage or anything like that, so, but the town attorney is pursuing it. Bless you.
I think we should meet next month, then take the summer off since we've got the M&P coming up. And
Definitely next
also, if it does go out for bid, we've had a member be part of the bidding process and hope that we can have a member again, part of the
I
group.
would suggest you either or appoint someone from at this meeting or at your next meeting.
Right, correct.
And considering Greg won't be here at the next meeting, you may wish to do that sooner than later.
Is the person able to be because you did by Zoom last year,
I can do Zoom anytime.
and is it possible for that person to be there by that? That's something to maybe find out.
I'll find out and I'll let you know.
And are you willing to serve by Zoom if possible? Okay. So we can leave it for next meeting, and if not, then we'll have to get somebody here if somebody wants to do it. and
When
if-
will you be back?
Oh, no. We don't have a
Nice.
flight back yet.
I wish I.
This is open-ended, sorry.
Long-term vacation.
Maybe September.
Okay.
We're at the latest.
Okay. I mean,
During the process.
we would just have to, we just have to make sure it's done and then town council approves what, if any, bids we receive before the expiration of the existing contract. So, it could go as late as, September, October, even November at the worst.
Okay. If you would find out if we can do by Zoom, and we can take care of it next meeting. We need to. Which is about, what's
Next
the date?
meeting is May 19th, Wednesday at 9 a.m. May 19th.
If there's nothing further,
Same agenda?
Same
Exact-
agenda, yes. And, yes, as Chelsea says, our strategic plan is a living, breathing document. We should maybe look at it for next time again. I don't know that, if there's dates to move back that do we need to discuss that in here, or?
That's something we can work administratively. And again, I am always available. We can either set it up an appointment if you'd like to meet in person, phone call. Zoom, if you have any questions operationally or looking at the upland services, the expansion, I'm always available. I know Austin will make himself available. He's a busy guy out there. But we are here if you have additional questions outside of this forum, that we can meet with you one-on-one.
Meeting with those upland options, do you think a phone conversation would be
I can
sufficient?
do that, yep, whatever you prefer.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Sam Lurie, I move to adjourn.
Craig Holmes, second.
In favor? 9:52. Thank you, everybody. I have minutes to sign here. Austin, I'll give you these.
Thank you.
I don't remember who.
Good, how are you?
Do you remember who made a motion?